Hey guys, we're looking at resource types and resource nodes in Hell Let Loose. This is compiled after update 12, so some of the information may change in the future. In Hell Let Loose, resources allows your commander to use abilities that can significantly alter the gameplay, giving your team the greatest opportunity to be victorious. These abilities include bombing runs, strafing runs, airhead spawns, and the ability to bring tanks and other vehicles to the battlefield. The different resource types in Hell Let Loose are munitions, manpower, and fuel. By default, your team gets 30 resources per resource type, plus an additional 10 resources per node built, adding up to a total of 60 per minute. Munitions are used every time artillery or anti-tank guns are loaded, and by any of the following commander abilities. The ammo drop calls in a large crate containing 5 batches of firearms and explosive ammunition, and medical supplies for rearming infantry in battle. The supply drop drops 100 supplies on a specific location on the field. This can be used to establish a garrison, but be mindful the enemy can see this drop and will immediately head to that area. A recon plane can be called in and allow certain roles to see enemy positions on the map. The precision strike calls in a small yet powerful ground strike and is effective against heavy vehicles, fortifications and garrisons. The strafing run calls in a plane fitted with machine guns and is highly effective against infantry. A bombing run or Katusha strike can be called in causing a large amount of damage, highly effective against infantry, vehicles, fortifications and garrisons. You can also trade munitions for fuel or manpower. Manpower is depleted every time a soldier dies during battle. In warfare mode, players can continue spawning when their team is at 0 manpower. However, during offensive mode, manpower can severely alter the battle at the final point when the timer runs out. If your team is capturing the point when the game clock strikes 0, the timer goes into overtime, and instead of the time counting down, it is your team's current amount of manpower reserves. If your team has an abundance of manpower reserves, you stand a greater chance of victory. With the airhead ability, your commander can deploy a temporary garrison anywhere on the map, ideal for surprise attacks behind enemy lines. Your commander can instantly remove a garrison from the map. This is ideal when your team is in a position to build a forward garrison but is at the 8 garrison per team limit. Reinforce doubles the capture power of all sector strongpoints in a friendly controlled sector for 2 minutes. Encourage generates twice the resources for 2 minutes. The commander can also trade manpower for fuel or munitions. Fuel allows your commander to call in vehicles to the battlefield. This includes tanks, half-tracks and support trucks. Without tanks, your team will be quickly overrun, and without trucks you won't have the ability to drive supplies to the front line. Your commander can also trade fuel for manpower or munitions. There are 2 main ways to obtain the 150 supplies needed for your resource nodes. The first way is to request a supply truck from the commander and drop a crate to build your resource nodes. There are 2 ways this method can be effected. In warfare mode, you can't drop supplies from a truck in your HQ sector, which are the first 2 squares from your side of the map. For this method, you will need to drive to the HQ sector border and drop your supply crate. A tip for this method is to drop your supply crate over the sector border, then walk back and build your nodes on the HQ side of the border. You will need to make sure you are within 50 meters of your supplies and 50 meters from other nodes. The advantage of doing this is if your team loses the second point, your resource nodes will remain active as they are in a different sector. The disadvantage of this is that your enemy has a reasonable idea of where your resource nodes will be. This method takes around 2.5 to 3.5 minutes. In offensive mode, as the defending team, you can drop supply crates in the HQ sector from a supply truck throughout the game. However, as the attacking team, you can only drop supply crates in the HQ sector prior to the first point being captured. The second way to obtain the 150 supplies needed for your resource nodes is by spawning in at a HQ point as the engineering class. Place your blueprints for your resource nodes, hit escape, then redeploy as the support class. Drop your supply crate and be sure to complete the Manpower node first, as this will speed up your supply crate regeneration speed from 5 minutes to 2.5. Because the blueprints remain for 3 minutes, it is a good idea to hit the remaining nodes a couple of times with your hammer prior to completing your Manpower node, as this will reset the blueprint timeout timer. Same goes when completing your second node, which for me personally is the Munitions node, as this will cut your ammo regeneration time from 5 minutes to 2.5. While building your nodes, you can drop ammo boxes, which gives you a small amount of points as well as adds to your achievements if you're that way inclined. This method typically takes 6 to 7 minutes to complete the node set if completing solo. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.